Good morning, everyone. My name is Shawnee, and everyone's new here because this channel is new, but welcome. This channel is hopefully going to be able to give you the confidence to try more things on your own in your house for self-sustainability. Whether that is cooking your first loaf of bread, growing something in a garden, trying out kombucha or some other fermented drink or product. That's what I'm here for, and we're going to learn together. I'm new to a lot of this. I grew up cooking and helping my mom in the house all the time, but we didn't do a lot of things like baking bread or fermenting foods. I didn't do much in the way of gardening, although my mom did have a small garden growing up. But basically the kinds of things that people associate with homesteading nowadays. But I did always help my mom get dinner started, and so I've always known how to cook and had an affinity for it. But you know, we're trying to take it to the next level now, and that's what I'm here for, is to bring you along in my journey and hopefully inspire you to start one of your own and to give you the confidence to do that yourself. So we're gonna do a few things today. You see in the background here, I've got 2 covered bowls because I've got 2 different sourdough breads going. One is ciabatta and one is breadsticks. The breadsticks will be for dinner tonight, so we will get into that later. Unfortunately, I did not film the process of starting those doughs, so some other time for that. Stay tuned. We've also got work to do on an apple cider vinegar that we're getting started. Got to feed our ginger bug, and we are going to make some spaghetti and a meat sauce for dinner tonight. So let's get started. First, I'm gonna put my hair up because nobody wants hair in their food. And I'm gonna get my hands washed. All right. So first task today is gonna be getting our pasta going. And I have just used a recipe that I found, online that worked well for me. I've only used it a couple times, but every time that I've used it, it's worked out well. We don't have pasta very often at all. Not because pasta is bad, but because generally, we're just trying to keep track of our weight over here and keep track of our simple carb consumption. But we're gonna make it with a really protein heavy meat sauce today. And it's cold and rainy, and so it really, pasta with some sourdough breadsticks just sounded like a really good idea. So we're gonna go for it today. Knowing that, it's not every day, but it's some days. And since I have the time, work's not too busy, we might as well take it all the way, right? I've got dry pasta. I always keep dry pasta in my pantry. It's one of my just in case foods, right? Just in case I don't have time to cook. Just in case, we lose our jobs and we don't have money and we have to, the budget has to be tight. I buy it from Costco in bulk, so we have a ton of it. It's cheap and, obviously it's filling. So I always have dry pasta in my pantry in large quantities, as one of my just in case foods, along with things like dry beans and rice. But today we're gonna use fresh pasta that we make. So, yeah, so first thing we're gonna do is get all of the things out that we need. You may have seen, videos of people making pasta where they, just kind of put a pile of flour right on the counter and then, pour the wet ingredients into that. Or you may have seen people do things, in a mixer. This recipe allows for a mixer, but my mixing bowl is actually in use for the breadsticks right now. And so rather than disturbing it and taking it out and cleaning the bowl and all of that, I'm just gonna go ahead and mix it by hand, and then we'll knead it to get it to a smoother consistency. Okay, so first thing we're gonna do is mix dry ingredients. So that would be the flours and salt. And for this, we use 2 different types of flour. We use the semolina flour. I'm using this brand here. And all-purpose unbleached flour, which I keep a big bin in my pantry, and then I fill a smaller container for regular daily use. But we go through a lot of flour, what with the breads and the baking at times. So we keep a lot of it. I was debating if I wanted to double this recipe. It says it serves 4 to 6. Now there's 4 in my family, and I don't know how much people are going to want to eat. So I might double the recipe, because worst case scenario, if I make too much pasta, right, I can dry it and then preserve it for later. So that'll be 5 cups. This is a ½ cup scoop, so I need to do 10, and that was 3. We've got another. Now that I'm looking at how much flour this is, no, I don't think I want to double it. I'm like, this is probably going to make too much pasta. So I'm going to take out 5 of these. It's always okay to change your mind. All right, so that is our semolina flour, and now we need 3/4 of a cup of the unbleached all-purpose flour. This is my 1/4 cup measure. So we'll just do 3 of these. And we're done with that. And then we need salt, about a tablespoon. Okay, so that's it for the dry ingredients. I'm just gonna give that a quick mix, and you can see here everything is in. I'm gonna combine it well so that it's all incorporated. There, looks much better. And we'll do our wet ingredients. So wet ingredients are going to be olive oil, eggs, egg yolks, and water. So we'll start with the water. And we're going to use filtered water for this. So we have a built-in water filter. ½ cup of that. Olive oil. I like to keep squeeze bottles of olive oil and avocado oil in the cabinet right next to the oven and the stove, because I use them every day, but I keep the larger big bottles in the cabinet and just refill the squeeze bottles as we need them. All right, so 3 eggs whole. Oh, sorry, 2 eggs whole. Glad I read that again. And 3 yolks. So I'm just gonna crack these over this cup so that I can just get our yolks. You can buy fancy egg separators, but this also works quick and easy, although albeit messy for your hands. And then we use egg whites quite a bit as a source of protein in our breakfast, so I will save that for another recipe for another day. So we're going to mix that all together now. Just mix that up so it's all incorporated. All right, our next step is where we dump everything out and make a well. So I'm just gonna flour this just a little bit because obviously there's flour in this bowl right here that I'm about to use. So what we're gonna do is we are going to pour the dry ingredients onto my work surface. And again, I'm using this silicone mat because it keeps my counter from getting crazy and it's really easy to clean. And then we make a well. All right, so we have our well here, and this is where we are going to slowly add the wet ingredients and mix them together with our fingers. Okay, so I'm just gonna pour, and this is just the eggs, egg yolk, water, and olive oil. I don't want it to spill over too much, which it's immediately doing. Okay, this is making a huge mess. My well is getting everywhere. So let me try to gather this stuff together. That did not come together nice and neatly like you see on other people's expert level videos. But again, we are going on this journey together. And at the end of the day, all that matters is that we have the right finished product. So let's pour the rest of this out. Let's see if we can't get this to turn into something pretty.
So as you can see, I made quite a mess with this pasta dough, but that is why I put the Silpat down. My beautiful well did not quite come out the way we were hoping and capture all the liquid. Not to worry though. I just kept working at it and gathered all the liquid together and was able to, after some time, get this into a nice smooth ball of dough that resembled the look and texture of what you would expect from pasta dough. And so I'm just spending some time really working it and kneading it to make sure that it comes together well. And you can see that with a little bit of patience, we got it to the right consistency. So that's something to remember. If things aren't perfect, you can fix it.
Cut in half real quick and take a look. And we've got some good air bubbles coming. I think I'm gonna give it some more kneading. I think we can get a few more going if we just keep going for another few minutes. Okay, our dough is done. I left it divided, it was easier. Wrapped it in plastic wrap, and we're gonna let it sit for about an hour or so. So I'm just gonna set it on my counter behind me here, and gonna get cleaned up, and then we'll start our next couple of projects. Took a little break to clean up, and then also, like I said, it is a work day for me, and I do have a full-time job, so I just took a little break to get some work done. That's all handled, so now we're gonna move forward. The next thing I'm gonna do is feed my ginger bug. So if you don't know what a ginger bug is, it's basically a fermented ginger drink starter. So it took me a week to make it. And you start with some water, some sugar, and some chopped up ginger, and then you just keep feeding it every day until it starts to ferment and you see bubbles on the top, and then once it's ready, you can use it to make ginger beverages. So last week I made some ginger beers, which my husband really liked. It's been kept in the fridge, and now I am going to feed it. So the way we feed it is you just take some raw ginger, you don't need to peel it or anything, just take off a little nub, which I did, and then you chop up the pieces. So I'll show you here. This is what I've chopped up. And I'm just gonna put it right in here. No peeling, no nothing. And I'm gonna add some sugar as well. I actually, I think I'm gonna feed it just a little bit more. I wanna get a little more ginger flavor in there. So we're gonna feed it a little bit more. I'm gonna put in about 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. I'm gonna pick a clean wooden spoon and we're gonna stir it around. Give it a good quick stir. Okay, and that's it. So that's fed for the week. My last ginger beer didn't have as much fermentation as I wanted, but my husband said the flavor was really good. So I might feed it for a few days in a row just to kind of get it to perk up a little bit. And then I'll probably make some more ginger beer this weekend. So we'll do a short video when we get to that. All right, now the other thing that we're gonna work on is our apple cider vinegar. Now I don't know how this is gonna come out, but I saw a recipe to make your own apple cider vinegar. It takes a couple of months total, but we're about almost 2 weeks into the process. So you just take kind of apple scraps, cores, peels, and put it in a jar with some filtered water, and then you just let it do its thing. This is just a silicone bag with water in it. I'm using it as a weight to keep the apples on top from rising to the surface and getting moldy and drying out. And so I'm just going to give this a stir to make sure that you know, the apples on the bottom are circulating and everybody gets a chance to get in there and get utilized. It definitely has a sour smell, but not yet vinegary. It's supposed to form what's called the mother, which is basically the apple cider vinegar version of a SCOBY for like a kombucha. So like a live fermented culture. I'm just gonna stick this back in here, and then we have a breathable cloth top that allows it to breathe but still stay safe. So I don't see, it's kind of hazy, so it's hard to tell, but I don't know that the mother formation is happening yet. When we get to the 2-week mark on Sunday, so that's in a couple of days from now, I'm gonna go ahead and take all the apples out and then continue to let it sit and ferment. So we'll just do like, I'll do some daily, you know, check-ins. Look for that maybe on Instagram, pictures, and or you know, maybe every couple of days to see how that's progressing. Okay, so those 2 things are all done now. Okay, so now we're gonna get started on our meat sauce for the pasta that we're making today. So I have a number of different pots and pans. I really like the Hex-Clad pans, but I don't yet have the Hex-Clad like saucepan that has a higher wall. And since this is gonna be sauce and eventually, you know, there's gonna be liquid, I'm gonna use this caraway pan. It's not my favorite for meats. I like it better for vegetables, but again, because I need the walls. So we're gonna just heat up some olive oil, and then we're gonna chop up a couple of vegetables. All right, so I have made my own pasta sauce before. Today we're not exactly doing that. It's gonna be a little bit of a hybrid. This is not the knife I want. It's gonna be a bit of a hybrid. So I'm gonna be using a canned tomato sauce, but you know, zhuzhing it up a little bit. So we're just gonna start by slicing up some onion. And get that going in our olive oil. And I've always said that I wanted to take some cooking classes, not so much to learn how to cook, but for like this type of stuff. I've never learned how to chop an onion or like vegetables, you know, very uniformly. So, you know, knife work kind of stuff would be nice to know. But, you know, the job gets done. It gets done one way or the other. So it's not a must do. And if you're not a pretty chopper like others, then that shouldn't hold you back from making foods, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't need this super fine because it's just gonna cook down, but we don't want like any huge chunks of onion in our mouth for the sauce, right? The onions are an accompaniment, they are not the star. We'll just give that a little toss so it gets coated in the olive oil. Turn the heat down a little bit because we don't want it to cook too fast. We've got to get our garlic added as well. I have a ton of fresh garlic that I will use in a lot of recipes, but I also keep frozen minced garlic in the freezer. Currently I get the big jar from Costco and then just freeze it, and usually I do a better job of freezing it into like perforated little blocks, so it's easy for me to just break off a chunk when I want some garlic. But I didn't do the best job last time of perforating the chunk, so I just gotta kind of break it off. But I'll just throw it in there and it'll thaw out and melt. But this is a way, because buying the garlic in bulk, if you're not a person that loves to peel garlic all the time, right? Like there's a roll for fresh garlic, but buying the garlic in bulk is super inexpensive. And then when you put it in a plastic bag and freeze it, it lasts even longer, so you never have to waste any. So I really love this. I got this idea from somebody else on Instagram, and it's like, wow, why haven't I been thinking of that this whole time? Like, where has my brain been? Okay, I'm just gonna add a little bit of salt. So there's plenty of salt in the sauce that I'm adding already, so I don't want to overdo it. Just a little bit. And now I'm going to make this meat sauce with turkey, with ground turkey. I thought about using ground beef because a mixture of ground beef and ground turkey, because I do have quite a bit of ground beef actually. We don't use it very often, so it piles up. We get a monthly subscription from ButcherBox. And because of the time that I subscribe to ButcherBox, I get a free pound of ground beef every month, and we just don't have ground beef often enough to utilize all of that. So it piles up. But I decided yesterday I made some pizzas, some sourdough pizzas, and I used this spicy Italian sausage. It's turkey, so we don't eat pork, so this is a spicy turkey Italian sausage. So I thought, I'll just do ground turkey and spicy Italian turkey. I think that'll be enough. I don't think we'll need the beef on top of it. If it doesn't look hearty enough, I can always add the beef because there is some in the fridge. All right, I'm just gonna grab my kitchen shears so that I can cut off the casings for the sausage. And I recently discovered using gloves to cook, especially meat. You don't have to do it, but I just hate how my hands get all like gucked up. So it's just, it's nice for me. So what I'm doing here is, you can see there's a casing, and I don't want these whole. I want them ground. So I'm just gonna, reach under the casing and cut. And then it cuts really easy, and it'll split, right down the middle. And then it's easy to get the filling out. Okay, so I've got 3 sausage links. So that's a little tight. I'm gonna get that going so we can get it ground up. I'm gonna throw in half of this ground turkey as well. All right, so I just let it cook down a little bit. I threw in some mushrooms and it's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna taste a little piece and make sure that the seasoning is what I would like it to be before I throw in the sauce. Oh, that's good. There's some spiciness from the sausage, but not too much because there's still regular ground turkey in here. This is the brand that I'm using. All right, I'm gonna let that simmer a little bit and then I'll see if it needs any more seasoning. I have more work to do, so I'm gonna go take a break and do some work.
I did end up taking about a 20-minute break to get some work done. Just a reminder, I am a full-time employed adult and I work from home Monday through Friday from about 8:30 to 5 every day. So most of the things that I'm doing when I'm doing them on the weekday, I am doing them in between work. You know, I have some scheduled meetings that are firm and have to be done at my desk upstairs in my office where I'm sitting at attention with my camera on and I'm, paying attention and focused. And I can only do that one thing. But outside of scheduled meetings, I am free to get my work done in a way that best suits me as long as I meet the necessary deadlines, of course. So I'm self-managed. And so I can take breaks throughout the day to do various cooking or gardening projects as my volume increases or ebbs and flows throughout the day. And so at this point, I took a natural break when my meat sauce had been finished making. The pasta dough was resting and I was in between my next steps to go ahead and get caught up on work so that I could then turn my attention back to the food.
Okay, we are finished with a little bit more work and it's time to get working on these breadsticks so that they'll be ready in time for dinner. So I have cleaned and dried my silicone mat so that I can work with my dough here. And again, I didn't start with you guys this morning, but it's doubled in size from what it was this morning. So I'm going to take this dough scraper and just get it out of the bowl there and onto our mat. And now what I want to do is get this into 12 approximately even sized balls. Not perfect at this, but we'll just start by putting it in half and then cutting it in half again, cutting each half into thirds. They're definitely not even, but that is okay. My family cares most about taste than perfection in aesthetics. I'm gonna try to help it out a little bit here. Some of these could use a little more, some could use a little less. Okay, all right, that's better. Too much. We don't want our things to be dry. All right, so now I'm gonna roll them out. I didn't get a rolling pin, so grab one of my rolling pins. I'm going to use the heavier one so we can get this flat. Just heard my work phone go off. We're going to check that in a moment. Let's get these done. So what I'm going to do is just roll them out and then roll them into little logs and tuck the sides under like that. Keep doing this. Roll them out and roll them up. Tuck the ends under. Unfortunately, my camera was not recording. I ran all of my dough sheets. I separated them into fours, and I ran them through this flat sheet, which we would use for lasagna, just to give them an even, thin, uniform consistency. And now I've attached my spaghetti attachment, and we're gonna go ahead and run them through that. And before I do that, real quick, I'm gonna get my drying apparatus set up because we're gonna let the pasta rest for 15 to 30 minutes before we cook with it, and we need a place for it to lie and rest during that time. It's time to get going on this. So, just gonna lightly flour my pasta dough on both sides so it doesn't stick. It's taller than me, so I'm on my tippy toes. Look at that. Very cool. I'm going to try to gather it as it comes out because some strands are shorter than others. That super long strand was, I think we will cut these in half for the next time. All right, here we go. We're gonna let this pasta dry out for about 15 more minutes, and then I will cook it. Get our, goodness, got a big mess on the floor. We'll get our breadsticks going, and then I need to just quickly make some broccoli to go with our dinner. Just gonna take a quick peek at how our breadsticks are coming. Some of them are puffing up, some of them need a little bit of time. It's not as warm in my oven in my kitchen as it was, so slowing down a bit. We'll give them more time. They've got another 30 minutes or so before they need to go in the oven. But yeah, I'm gonna clean up while these dry out, and then stay tuned for the last steps. Okay, so our pasta is ready to cook. It's been sitting out for a little bit. I've got some water boiling. Our breadsticks have risen as much as they're gonna rise, and they are waiting for the oven to preheat. So I'm in a limbo and a holding pattern. So in that time, I'm gonna go ahead and prep another sourdough. So we eat probably one sourdough loaf a week. This one is about a fourth, maybe less, a little less than a third left. So I'm gonna go ahead and prep another loaf. It's an overnight process to be able to bake them. I probably won't bake it tomorrow. I'll probably put it in the fridge and bake it in a few days, but my sourdough starter is super active and full. So I don't want it to overflow. So we're gonna go ahead and do that while we wait for everything to be ready. Okay, so for sourdough, it's actually quite simple in terms of ingredients. We just use starter, bread flour, salt, and water. That's it. I was thinking about making 2 loaves, but given that we still have some, I'm making ciabatta loaves tomorrow. I think we'll just do 1. So I have my bowl on the scale here, and I'm gonna weigh out and see how thick and active she is here. Just gonna weigh out my starter. All right, so that's 50 grams of my starter. It's still pretty full, but we're gonna stick it in the fridge so that it can just hang out and not continue to rise. I'm gonna zero out my scale, and now I'm gonna add water, which is 350 grams. Right on the nose, and 10 grams of salt. Zero my scale out again. I like to zero it out just to make sure, because sometimes if you bump the scale, it can be sensitive and change the number on you. So I like to zero it out each time just to make sure I'm accurate, and I'm not, especially with salt, I don't want to make a salty loaf. And then the last ingredient is bread flour, and I have this humongous bag here. I haven't yet bought a bin for bread flour, but I think it's time because I use it quite a bit, and this is going to be 500 grams. So it's about a little over 4 cups. Right on the nose. Got all my ingredients in here. I'm going to just take my handy dough whisk. I just got this recently and I love it. It's such an easy way to mix up dough that you're not, using a stand mixer for when you're mixing by hand. And this is not going to be smooth initially. And that's fine because we're gonna let it sit for an hour so that it can go through the process of auto-lysing. And after that hour, it's gonna look more smooth than this kind of shaggy dough we have right now. So I just try to make sure, you know, I got as much of the dry bits of flour, you know, at the bottom, and that overall the dough is moistened, but I'm not looking for smoothness in this dough, right? I'm just gonna leave it just like this. I'm gonna cover it with plastic wrap. And I'm currently out of tea towels. They are all being used. And let it sit for an hour, and then I'll take you through that process. Okay, so in that time, our water is now boiling. Our oven is preheated, so we're gonna move through this process. Now we're gonna get our unbaked breadsticks into the oven for about 20 minutes, and I'm gonna get started on the first set of pasta here. So here's our fresh pasta. Oops. And it's just a little bit at a time. Picking up my little mess pile. I'm gonna take the rest of the pasta that I have here and just kind of put it in little pasta piles. Not sure if this is about a serving, you know, for one person, each of these little piles, but maybe. I've got 4 people in my family, and including myself, and my husband and son could eat a larger portion for sure. I'm not entirely sure my daughter is planning on eating at home, but even if she doesn't eat the dinner that I make at night, she will often have it. She'll take it with her for lunch the next day. So with that in mind, since I have all of these little piles, I think I will cook at least this much. Potentially, we'll see, you know, we'll see how hungry everybody is when they get home. Now, I have some eggs here, you may have noticed. We have lots of farmers in our area, and we have several egg farms in our area. And I was running out of eggs, so I sent my son. We like to support the local egg farmers in our area. Their prices are fair, very fair, and you know, we know exactly where they came from. So I'm gonna go ahead and get those put away and get my pasta cooking. So I got some broccolini to go with our dinner. I'm doing a lot of vegetables this week, some more elaborate vegetable dishes. So today I'm just going to keep it simple. Some steamed broccolini with a little bit of like a seasoning on top, and that'll go well with what we're serving on the side. Okay, I've got my first batch of pasta out, so I'm going to put this next one in. So our water is boiling quite vigorously. Just gonna unfold it like that. And I think that'll be enough for now. I'm just gonna stop there for me and my son because he's the only one home right now. And then anybody else can boil their pasta fresh. For the additional, I think I'll just put it in a plastic bag and keep it fresh in the fridge rather than letting it dry out completely. And it'll probably be eaten in the next couple of days. All right, while I am waiting for the bread to cook, I just want to show you my ciabatta bread dough. I wish I had started this process with you guys, but I don't know if you can see that bubble, those bubbles. This is an air bubble here. There's a few more. This has goodness, I don't even know if this is just double. This might have tripled in size. So it's time to go in the fridge for this. So I'm gonna cover it in plastic wrap so it doesn't dry out. My daughter loves sandwiches. She is going to love this. She loves ciabatta bread. And usually she has to, like, you know, buy a sandwich out to get a sandwich from ciabatta bread, or we have to get it from the store, but then it dries out. So she's gonna love this. So I need to put it in the fridge, which means I need to put it outside because my inside fridge does not have room. And I need to put it in a plastic bag because we don't want the flavors from anything in the fridge or the odors to get into our bread dough. So we wrap it in plastic wrap and just stick it in a grocery store bag, tie it off, and then tomorrow we'll finish shaping it and getting it into loaves. My water for my broccolini is almost boiling. I'm gonna take my son's pasta out so that I don't overcook his, because I did overcook mine just a tad. I don't wanna mess up his. I'm gonna turn that off. So here we go. I'm gonna let that drain. And turn that off because nobody else is home, so nobody else is ready to eat yet. And in just a few minutes, we're gonna have everything plated. All right, so I just took a peek in the oven and it looks like our breadsticks are done. So I'm gonna put them here so I can do the final step, which is a garlic herb butter brush. So they're looking pretty good. Yes, they're definitely done. Some just didn't brown up quite the same as others, but I don't want them to get tough and chewy. So this is just melted butter with some garlic powder, salt, and Italian seasoning. And I'm just gonna brush this on a liberal amount on each of these breadsticks. Again, they're not uniformly shaped or sized, but as long as they taste good, that's all that matters. So we'll know that in a few minutes once they've cooled off enough to take a first delicious bite, hopefully delicious. Looks like some of my garlic powder is getting glooped up on the bottom there. It's almost the end of my work day. I just heard my work phone go off again. So I'm gonna check and see what's needed before I sit down to eat, because at this point everything's done. I just gotta get plated. All right, this is our final plate. I put some fresh basil from my basil plant on top. I'm gonna taste this breadstick and see what it tastes like. All right. It's chewy, you can see. Fluffy on the inside. Absolutely delicious.
It's 4:45 p.m.
I am going to take my well-deserved break to sit down and eat dinner, calm my son down so he can enjoy food as well. And thanks for coming along with me today on my my day of cooking doing a little bit of maintenance with the apple cider vinegar and the ginger bug, getting a sourdough bread started, and come back and look at another short video of how we keep processing that. And I hope to see you next time. If you enjoyed and you want to find out what's coming next, like this and subscribe for more.